Hello and welcome to another scrapbooking process video. I'm Tracy, also known as MercyTiara, and I make scrapbooking process videos and more here on my channel. Today I'm working on my first page that I created with the new Dream Big kit from MercyTiara Kits. But before I do that, I played around a little bit with a brand new set of dies that I have. These dies are from scrapbook.com and they are called Nested Fancy Circle Border Dies. They're 7 pieces in the one set. There's the image. You can find these really easily at scrapbook.com. Just search for nested fancy circle borders and you will find them. I just cut them out of some cardstock that was in my stash. So this is not cardstock from the kit. I had a peach piece and also a purple piece, and I thought that either of those would look pretty good with the current kit, which is Dream Big. I did try cutting them all at once in one big, put the whole set of dies onto my cutting plates and run them through, and that did not work. So you do have to cut those individually, or at least in twos. You can't cut them all nested into one another because they're not, they're all different widths, so some of them are not gonna cut properly when you do it that way. I'm starting by having a look through the patterned paper and cardstock from the Dream Big kit and the add-ons. And I am going to go with the Swiss Dot Craft cardstock. I think it's called Sandbox as my background. And I'm just picking out a variety of different pattern papers that I think will work with that. So I also have these. These are the printable labels that are coming in our main kits every month now. And there's also some chunks of color there for you to cut out some punches and shapes and stuff if you'd like to. And so I'm not going to be using that part of it for today, but I will be using some of those labels. The nice thing about those labels is if you run out of a certain color, you can always just print more. Now, I have these 2 photos of coffee, and I am eventually, and I can't decide which one I'm going to use. One of them is from coffee at a resort where we were a couple of years ago, and another one I think is from a restaurant. Coffee is a big part of our lives, and where the coffee's from doesn't matter as much as just these are pictures of coffee that we took at one point that represent that, we love coffee around here. Now, I'm going to actually change my mind about the content of this page as I go along. So you'll see how sometimes I scrapbook and I have a sense of a story that I want to tell, and other times I let the product guide me, and this would be an example of letting the product guide me. So I took a look at the die cuts that came in the embellishment kit. Those are the icon embellishments from the Poppy and Pear collection. And I grabbed those 2 houses. One of them is a post office and one of them is a little tea shop. And I am thinking about using those on this page. There's also a stack of coffee cups in the foam thickers that came in the main kit, I believe. And so as I go through, I'm noticing there's lots of tea embellishments in this kit. So I've decided to print up a photo of my daughter's little tea storage caddy thing that she keeps in our kitchen. And so I thought I might use one coffee photo and one tea photo. And I love the bright, colorful tins that she has. And there's also a little boba whisk, or no, it's not a boba whisk. It is, she doesn't make boba, but that is for matcha. It's a little matcha whisk. And so I'm just figuring out how I might want to layer those 2 photos together. I like those 2 together, and I like them kind of off kilter like that, not too lined up. I'm going back to that embellishment set. Those are the icon embellishments that come in the embellishment add-on. And there was a little teapot there that I skipped over the first time around because I thought my layout was only going to be about coffee, but now it's going to be about both. So I grabbed the teapot. I've decided to only go with the tea shop and not the other building that was actually post office, but I was kind of thinking I might make it into a coffee shop. But I am going to just put one house on this layout or building. And I have those vellum lights pulled out as well with the thought that I might put them across a photo or across a title or maybe at the top there. I also have this disembodied hand holding a teacup or a coffee cup. And I'm not a huge fan of disembodied hands. they're growing on me, but I struggle with how to use those hands, so I'm not sure if they're going to make it on the kit on the page. So I am taking a look at the labels that come with the main kit, and this I'm also demonstrating. I was live streaming with my patrons, and so I was just talking about different printers printing differently, and so I have my newsletter picked out there. But my main thing that I was doing there was having a look at the labels that came with the kit. Those are printable files, so you don't get a physical sheet of those labels, but you can print them up at home, or you can send them out to Staples Copy and Print or wherever you send your stuff. But I just use my regular home printer, which is not a fancy expensive one. It's just an inkjet printer, and they come out beautifully as long as you use the fine setting. I'm thinking about potentially matting my photos with some of these beautiful pattern papers, but then I was deciding maybe I won't mat them, and so I can't quite decide, so I won't mat them quite yet. I do want to make sure that I don't forget about the little stack of coffee cups that I had decided to use, but didn't take them out of their package because they're super, super sticky. So I didn't want to take them out. So I ended up just cutting them, like leaving them on their clear backing and cutting them off of the rest of the sheet so that I can play around with placement there. My thought is that the tea embellishments will go over on the right where the tea image is, and then the coffee related embellishments will go over on the left where the coffee embellishments are, or where the coffee picture is. I even thought about separating out my photos a little bit. And I thought about using the sketch from this month, which every month we host a sketch challenge over on our Facebook group, which is MercyTiara Kits Club. And it's always linked in the information section below if you'd like to join us over there. You don't have to use our kits. You just have to be a fan of our kits to participate over there. So you're welcome to join. Anyhow, we always have a sketch challenge, and there's a prize at the end of the month, but I decided not to use that sketch this time. I still have plenty of time in the month. It's actually before the month. I'm doing this layout a little bit early. And I'm going to definitely cut out that really cute picture of a coffee cup to go. I love that. This is from the Rainbow Avenue collection, came in the kit, and it's just gorgeous. Oh, I am in love with the black and white paper on the other side of this too, like the black and white. Oh no, this is the one with the plaid, which I also really love. But there's a really cute black and white heart paper in this kit that I adore, and I cannot wait to use. So I took out the ampersand because I thought I might call this coffee and tea, and then have that ampersand be between my two words. And I'm still kind of just thinking, right? Like I kind of, at this point, I have to make a decision. Is this going to be I seem to go one of two ways, and you can certainly go in the middle of the road. But for me, my layouts tend to be either a whole lot of pattern paper and not too much embellishments, or they tend to be a whole lot of embellishments and not too much pattern paper. So I'm kind of trying to decide, am I going to go really heavy on the embellishments here or pattern paper? And then I remembered that I had these die cut circles that I talked about at the very beginning of this video, which I wasn't really planning to use them today when I cut them, but they work really, really well. So I might as well use them, right? So I pulled down two, and then I was thinking that the circle centers of those would be a really good way to incorporate some of the pattern paper that I would love to work into this layout. So I am going to cut one. So I'm going to recut those dies. So I pulled out the same two dies that I had used to make those purple. There's the label for it. And I am going to recut it with the pattern paper. And this time when I'm recutting it, I'm not cutting it for the border. I'm cutting it for that center circle because I would like to have the centers of those borders be pattern papers. So I'm positioning this die in such a way that I know that this paper with the trees is going to be on the bottom of my layout. And so I'm just positioning it so that I'm getting the colors that I want to see at the bottom of that circle. And then for this one is going to go at the top of my page. And so I want to be able to see a certain configuration of those flowers that I really like. So I wanted to make sure that the daisies are showing. I also wanted to make sure that some of those purpley flowers were showing as well. Now I do have 2 more frames now. I'm not going to use them on this page, but I do have them. So now I can use them on some other page. I don't love a frame that is made out of a patterned paper. I prefer a frame to be made out of a solid, or at least a pattern paper that reads as a solid. So I really love the flip side of that frame that I have right there with the little rainbows on it, the little rainbow holes. I love the back side of that paper. The floral paper is this beautiful, it's like a purpley color. It's gorgeous. And I will definitely use that in a future page. And this one also, see how it's kind of busy as a border? It really looks nice, and some people use it that way, but I prefer to use my border punches and border dies in more of a solid way. But you never know, I might try using the patterned sides just to kind of challenge myself. I keep using this tool. This is a roller tool from Sizzix. Sizzix actually sent me this. It was very kind of them to do that many years ago. And also the little foam thing that you put. It's basically like a soft surface so that when you poke, the little holes poke through really super easily. And that brush is just a very stiff bristled brush so that the bristles are so stiff that they poke the holes out of the die cuts. And you can use that same tool to clear out the circles from like the little spare little pieces out of the die itself, as well as out of the little pieces of like the die cuts, so the paper. So now I have my fancy border circle dies, and I also have circle pattern papers to fit inside of those borders. And I really like how this is coming together. I think that this introduces some really pretty patterns to this page. And this kit is so full of beautiful pattern paper. I couldn't bear to make a whole page without taking advantage of some of the beautiful papers in this kit. Now, my title, I am definitely going to use my the letter stickers that came in the kit because I adore them. These are from the Cool Girl collection from American Crafts, and they're thickers, and they're foam with a cardstock outlined letter on top. Oh, they're so, so beautiful and so fun to work with. I adore them. Before I get too much further, I'm going to fussy cut this little takeout cup because I don't want to forget about it. Sometimes I plan to do something, and if I don't do it right away, I will forget, and then the whole page will be done, and I'll see left over on my desk this little thing that reminds me I had meant to do something. So I'll cut that out so I can leave it on my page and remember that I think it's going to go somewhere over on the left because that's where my coffee stuff is. I will grab some waxed paper so that I can write out the words coffee and tea. I am going to misspell coffee as I'm chatting, and I'm spelling out kof, which is not what I'm scrapbooking about today. And then I'm going to, then I realize I forgot an E. I thought about moving the whole thing to a bigger piece of wax paper, and then I thought I'm just going to grab a little tiny piece and add just the E by itself. I'm going to be deciding where these go fairly quickly, but nothing is adhered to the page yet. And so I'm mindful of the fact that I've got really nothing to stick these down to yet because nothing else is stuck down. So I do have to start sticking things down, and I'm going to need to take a photo of this in order to remember where everything is. Do you take photos of your layouts as you're making them so that you can remember where you decided things would go? Leave me a comment and let me know if you use your phone to take pictures of your layouts as you go, because I know it's a common thing. Some of us do it and some of us don't, but I very often do. I always kind of feel like there's no point in reinventing the wheel, right? Like I've figured out that it looks nice this way, so I might as well take a photo so that I can put it back together the same way that I had it. So I'm going to disassemble much of it, and then I'm going to piece it back together in a way that basically the way that I decide how I'm piecing it back together again is I'll I like to put the bigger pieces together first and cut them all to, I'm going to glue them all to each other. And that way I've got bigger chunks to work with, and then I can work the smaller pieces in afterwards. When I position those photos, I just want them to look a little bit off, like a little bit askew, not completely lined up. And I want the ampersand to be positioned so that I have enough room for the coffee above it and the tea beside it. And I am just using landmarks on my photo. So I'm just zooming in on my photo and I'm looking at where, so it was that corner was close to that tree and that corner was close to that pink tree. And it gives me an awkward little corner there, but I'm actually going to cover it up with the teapot, so it doesn't really matter. Now I am going to position this, and because it's not on the back yet, I don't have anything to glue this border to. So I'm just gluing it to the back where I can, and then I'll just let that float. And so the circle borders themselves won't be glued to the background paper until much later in this process. I'm just gluing them here behind the photos, and then the rest of it can just float. They'll stay, they wobble around a little bit. I wouldn't leave them like this forever, but it'll be fine while I'm just putting together the rest of the pieces, because I haven't quite decided where this chunk of embellishments and photos will live on the actual page. Now, here's something that I'm doing that I do not recommend, and every time I do it, I say to myself, and in this case, my patrons were watching with me and chatting, I say, it's not a good idea to use Nouveau Crystal Glaze or glossy accents in the middle of your process. You should really wait until the end and have your glossy accents, or what I'm using right now is Nouveau Crystal Glaze, which is the same. It's just a product. It's like a glue that's designed to make a surface look shiny. And it does take a fair amount of time to dry, and it really is just kind of tempting fate to use something like this in the middle of your process. I inevitably put my finger in the Nouveau Crystal Glaze or my hand before it's dry, but I don't know what. I think I'm some type of scrapbooking ninja or something, that I'm just not going to do the thing that is obviously going to happen, but I have convinced myself that even though it's not recommended, somehow I can do it, which is ridiculous. So we will see how long it takes before I stick my hand in that ampersand, but it looks very, very lovely. And when I do stick my hand in it, it's not so bad this time, and it doesn't have to be fixed up or anything. So that's a good thing. Maybe I'm getting better as I go at reminding myself to be careful of it. See, the problem is that I have a very, very short memory. And so I will, as soon as I finish that, I will instantly forget that it's wet and go and just touch it. So now I've decided this is where my background paper will go, this is where this cluster will go on my background paper. And so because the Crystal Nouveau drops are wet, I can't turn this over and put adhesive on the back of this cluster. So I am going to put my adhesive on the background paper. I just use very soft pencil marks to mark all of the corners. And then as I press it down, I'm just being careful to obviously not press on the Nouveau Crystal Glaze. I'm using my Art Glitter Dries Clear Designer Glue, and I will now just glue that fancy border die down. Die cut, that is. And then I'll do the same right here. Oh, there we go. That my knuckle, there it is. However, it didn't make too much of a mark, so I just left it. Didn't take too long for me to stick my hand in that crystal glaze. Then I can finally put the A on for the word tea, because that had to go on the background paper. So that's why I had to do that at that point. And now I will add all of these other embellishments to the places where I had meant to put them. I'm going to do some outlining on some of these embellishments. I think it's the teapot. Yes, it is. So I'm using my Muji Gray gel pen right here for this one. It's a fairly light gray. And so it doesn't add a whole lot of boldness. It just, I feel like it just kind of completes the teapot and provides a little bit of separation between the teapot and the other items on the back of the page. I was looking for some foam dimensional adhesive and I had run out of my American Crafts foam adhesive, so I just went into my stash and grabbed my Stampin' Up! Foam adhesive. And I was live streaming while I created this, and so there are some comments showing up on the video. If you're interested in watching real-time process videos where I just kind of hang out and chat about my process as I go, sometimes I post them live and you can watch live, and other times I post them after the fact and you watch it as an archive. If you're interested in that, you can hop on over to my Patreon, which is always linked in the information section below as well. My Patreon subscription is very reasonably priced. It's $2 is the lowest amount and the lowest tier, and all of my tiers get equal access to everything. So it's like a tip model, like a pay what you can or what you think is fair kind of an approach with a minimal pledge of $2 a month. And you can sign up for a month and then unsign up if you just want to support me one time and check out and see what it's all about. That's fine too. We also have a fun Discord channel where we chat about all sorts of things, including Lost, but mostly scrapbooking things, organization, and sharing layouts and whatnot. It's really fun. I'm just explaining how I injured myself off camera. I accidentally smashed my hand into the pointy end of that tool. And that's why I put a Band-Aid on earlier. If you had a keen eye, you might have seen me, what looked like I was taking off the backing of a sticker. It was actually a Band-Aid that I was putting on my hand earlier. Now I'm using a darker pen to outline this. I just felt like it needed a little bit more definition. I am using my Sarasa Clip, which is a pen by Zebra. I have two sets of them in the vintage colorway, and I really love them. They're one of my favorite ballpoint pens. I love, love, love them. So now I would like a element along the edge here, and I'm looking for a horizontal element, which is why I grabbed my labels here. The labels come in two different sizes, and I am grabbing both in that same teal green, and they're also sized so that the circles are punchable with a 1.5 inch punch and a 1 inch punch. But I'm not going to use the circles. I was just showing my patrons that you could use the circles with a punch if you wanted to. I find these labels are pretty easy to cut out. I don't have a problem. They're mostly straight and then little curves on the edges. I don't even have to use my precision scissors. I'm just using my regular scissors here. And the reason I'm putting this here is that I somehow inadvertently lined up the bottom of the house is lined up with the bottom of the photo. And I don't love that. It looks kind of awkward or like weird. And so using the label there will cover up the bottom edge of the photo so that those two edges aren't lining up. And it doesn't look like the house is just a continuation of that plane, that horizontal plane along the edge of the bottom edge of the photo. I did think about moving the house up a little bit. And as you see, I did take it off there. And I'm just going to actually put it back in exactly the same place. But I just wanted to be able to position my label more freely. So that's why I took it off. I like where the roof lines up with the A, and that's why I didn't end up moving it down. And if you have a keen eye, you might notice that I don't think I put adhesive under that label. It's only held on by the adhesive on the back side of the house, but that's okay. I will catch that before the end of the video and glue it down. I stuck that foam sticker with a stack of coffee cups. That's really one of my favorite embellishments in the whole kit. I love it. So I'm happy to get it on a page right away so I don't have to worry about it going to waste. It's definitely on a page now. And I'm thinking I want more of that teal color. And So I'm going to cut out, there's only so many that are this teal color, and I could easily go back and print up another set, but I'd rather not. So I just found the third one and cut it out. And that adds, basically, I was wanting to add a little bit of white up to the top there. It was just, there was white in those other two places, and I just wanted some white there. And the easiest way is to add a nice little label. I'm going to decorate these labels with a variety of different things, and I love this mint teapot puffy sticker. It is so, so cute. Oh, I love it. These puffy stickers are adorable. I just can't get enough of them. At this point, I'm just looking for little embellishments. This little sticker, it's a flag and it says "this moment," and it works really well under the house. And I'm looking for something else that's horizontal that can run behind the label and give the label a bit of anchoring. So I have this die cut, and eventually I'm going to change it for a different die cut. Not that one. It's too green. And let me see. What are we going to find here? At some point, yeah, here it is. It's this one. And it says, "You are just my cup of tea." And as soon as I saw it, I'm okay. So it's horizontal and it's tea themed. So let's put it here right below the teapot. And so you can see I've strayed away from my idea of tea being on the right and coffee being on the left. Now it's just all coffee, all tea, every which way, and it's all good. I'm having a look through these journaling pieces because I'm not sure if I'm going to need to use one. And woo, I really like this paint chip, and it would be a really great way to anchor that stack of coffee cups. So we'll put that there. And then I thought about using those hearts there in my tiny little secondary cluster, but I'm not going to. I'm going to keep looking for something else to go there. I have these tickets that came in the kit. These are from 49 and Market, and you don't get a whole set in the kit. You just get a small little, a little strip of them, just enough for your needs for this month. And I'm going to staple in the middle of the page here. My tiny attacher actually doesn't reach here. So all that you do is you flip it upside down, open it up, and then you put the handle back on it, and then you can staple anywhere. But you do need a piece of foam or something soft underneath so that you don't damage your surface. And then I just use my We Are Memory Keepers brad closing or brad opening tool, and I just use it to bend the little legs of the staple so that they're in place. And then I put a little bit of washi tape so that I don't get injured again. I've already been injured once in this layout. I don't need sharp edges sticking out on the back of my layout. That little vellum love, I thought it looked really cute. It looks a little bit like it's coming, like it's love is the steam that's coming out of the teapot, and I really love that. I like incorporating those sorts of concepts into my pages. So now I'm going to figure out how to layer these things together. I had already picked out this horizontal banner that says "You're just my cup of tea." I'm going to scooch it down a little bit behind the letters, and I had to pull them up a little bit to do that. And the letters are pretty forgiving in that way. And now I have this little heart from the puffy stickers, and I thought if I position it right above the spout of the teapot, it looks like there's little hearts coming out of the tea instead of steam. It's so cute. I love it. Puffy stickers are just so cute, and being able to make a little scene out of them is even better. These bows are from Rainbow Avenue, and they came in the embellishment add-on, and I am smitten. If you've followed me for a while, you know I am obsessed with bows, and I've gone through phases, especially a couple years ago. I was obsessed with bows, put them on everything, made them, had a die, had a punch, had like everything. I was always making bows. And I kind of took a bit of a break from my bow obsession, and now I think it's back full force. I'm ready to just put bows on everything. And these bows are especially nice because they introduce such a really nice texture, Felt is one of my favorite things to add to a scrapbook page. It just amps up the coziness of a layout just so, so beautifully. I'm rearranging the bows that I have on this page and I'm adding a fourth. I know things tend to work well in threes, but I just wanted one up here for balance. You don't have to follow those rules of three and all that stuff every single time. They're just guidelines, right? So don't let it restrict you. I moved the bows around because I wanted that darkest one to be on the bottom part of that cluster, like below the house, instead of being up high. I generally like darker things to be down lower on my page. It gives my page a sense of grounding. And so it's not at the very, very bottom, like where that yellow one was, but I like it at the bottom of that fairly heavy cluster that includes the photo, the pattern paper, as well as all those embellishments. Now for my background, I do plan to add some splatter to add just a little bit of interest to the background. The background already has more interest than you might realize because it is Swiss dot paper. So it has those little embossed tiny little dots all over it, which you can't really see. They're kind of like a tone on tone. They're not printed on their paper. They're just embossed on the paper. And I really love a Swiss dot paper. It's from Basel and it's one of my favorite backgrounds to work with. This one is called Sandbox, and it came in the Dream Big cardstock add-on. Now, I love my splatter, and I do want to use these enamel dots as well, and I really like combining splatter and enamel dots. I find that splatter helps enamel dots just feel a little bit more grounded and in place on the layout so that they don't stand out quite so much on a stark background that doesn't have anything else but some enamel dots on it. So I am just taking some gouache. And at this point, I have forgotten about our mixed media add-on paint, which I definitely would have used if I hadn't forgotten it. But I did forget it, so I'm using gouache and a little bit of water just to get a opaque white paint that I can splatter on my background. And here's where I'm remembering the mixed media paint, the mixed media kit, because it comes with this fan brush. And I know a lot of you have been asking me where I got my fan brush from that I use often, and I don't really remember where I got it. I think I got it at an art store. And so since I've received so many questions and such interest in the fan brush, I decided to make the fan brush be part of our mixed media add-on this time. So I have a whole new one here. I actually think I like this one better than the one that I have from the art store. It's like a softer, fluffier bristle, and it's just fun to use. With fan brushes, the more you load them up, the bigger the dots will be. So if you put lots and lots of paint in your fan brush, you'll get big dots. And if you just barely wet it and tap, 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 you'll get a very fine sprinkle of splatter. It's very, very pretty. And now I thought I was done, but I am not done. I actually thought about putting multicolored enamel dots on this page, but I did not like that look at all. And so I went back to just using the purple enamel dots on this page and just adding a couple. So basically we have 3 sets of enamel dots around the edges of the main cluster, and then another little set of enamel dots in the bottom secondary cluster. I just used my white gel pen to add a couple of other little dots but basically just dots, just to even out the splatter where it was. Now, this is the paint set that comes in the mixed media kit. I did drop my paint set on the floor, so one of my hinges is a little weird. It's kind of broken, but this is my very favorite paint set. It's my new favorite paint set. I love it. These paints are this beautiful, it's called a semi watercolor paint. So it's metallic and it looks amazing on dark surfaces as well as on light surfaces. And I'm just taking this teal green and it picks up on those labels and on various greens in the page. And I'm just sprinkling it exactly where I had already sprinkled the white. And it really brightens up the background. It looks really, really great. one of my patrons suggested green splatter, and I thought that it was a really good idea. So thanks to Rita for that. Shout out to Rita for her good green splatter idea. Look at how pretty that looks. I love it. Look at that. Boy, this Poppy and Pear collection from Beavalent is so beautiful. I can't get enough of it. So before I share the photos, just a quick shout out to my Patreon supporters. These folks help make this channel happen, so big thanks to all of them. Patrons, as I mentioned earlier in the video, get early ad-free access to all of my process videos, real-time unedited versions of most of my videos, as well as at least one monthly live stream, behind-the-scenes videos of my room and my process. Thanks to you also for watching all the way to the end. I hope that you enjoyed this page as it came together. I certainly enjoyed creating it. Stay tuned to my channel for more process videos. Until next time, take care and have a really great scrappy week.